Wednesday is the new home for your money with Evans Financial, and joining us today in studio is Colin Evans. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us again.
Yes, of course. So today we're talking about retirement, and this kind of can be a complicated topic. So why do you think it's complicated, or it seemed or appeared as complicated?
Complicated, really it's because it's unknown. Mm-hmm. You're now walking into, the newest phase of life. It's like you left the working world, which could have been, 25, 30, 40 years of, and now it's, that's our working world consumes such a large portion of our life. And then we go into, I've got nothing to do. This is, which is, that's a great point of it, because it's like, this is where the planning comes into play, and it's like, what is the uncertainty about the future?
Right.
Am I prepped for this? Did I save enough for this? Mm-hmm. Am I ready for this? Have I talked to an advisor about this? What does this look like? What potentially is out here? Because so this is, we're planning for something, being an unknown is, our end date is left up to our creator. So retirement time could go 10, 20, 30. That being the unknown, that can be a little bit scary, because now we're looking at the actual income that we're bringing in or that we're keeping and holding on to. Mm-hmm. We have to make this last, throughout your lifetime. And that goes into one of the greatest fears that retirees have. Almost every single year we see financial companies do these polling, and anywhere from 65 to 75%, they kind of fall in that same parameters every single year. But the largest fear of retirees is running out of money. It's because you don't know. And when you're just living off of a fixed income, what do we do? And this comes into play with, now it's the time we look at managing multiple sources of income. Mm-hmm. Where's my retirement coming from? Where's this income coming from? Is this going to be Social Security? Do I have maybe a pension? How much did I save? Did I put money away into my investment accounts? And where do I start pulling these funds out of? Because really we want to start looking at this. There's got to be a strategy to go along with it. Reasoning for that is because this is, we're looking at tax time. And when it comes to taxable numbers, strategies matter to make the most efficient use for somebody's retirement money. And one of the last things that we go into is, what are healthcare costs? And, when you go into it now, again, you're in an unknown phase of life. Have we saved enough for healthcare? Have we planned for it? Medicare will cover a certain amount, but what happened if I have a serious illness? Case in point, my father actually just had a quintuple bypass.
Oh my goodness.
About 7 weeks ago. He hadn't had a surgery since his tonsils were out as a little kid.
And you don't prepare for any of that, right?
And he wasn't prepared for that. Well, of course, Medicare and Blue Cross were paying for that, but that was a $150,000 procedure. That's an expensive procedure when it comes to that. So these are some of the things that you have to look at and prepare for when we go into retirement time. The nice thing is, we see a lot more people getting a lot more health conscious, especially now. And without sounding political, I look at like Kennedy, trying to get away some of the dyes and some of the stuff that's in our food. That can be some things that are hopefully will start assisting in the living longer. So we have to plan for the income to go along with that, lifestyle and being able to live longer. Yeah.
So we've heard the term, pockets of money. So tell me a little bit about that as well.
We get that one all in our industry, of pockets of money. And this is where we're looking at, okay, I've got my Social Security might be this pocket. Now this pocket might be my pension. This pocket might be my investment accounts or my 401ks, my IRAs. And then we're looking at where are we taking and what strategies are we using to pull out from these the most efficient way possible. Because case in point, we've seen over the years, it's like, hey, I just started taking money. I'm in retirement, and the first place I was pulling my money out of was my IRA. Wait, why are you doing that when we've got plenty in a savings account that we can live off of tax-free, as opposed to pulling out taxable income? Why don't we work on a different strategy, maybe converting some of this into tax-free dollars for later? Just using the strategy, because the tax thing that can be so damaging. We want to keep as much on the client side of the table as opposed to Uncle Sam, because frankly, I don't think Uncle Sam's done a good job with the money that we've given them so far. So that's what we're talking pockets of money. It's like, let's make sure we have the strategy in place that we take it the most efficient way possible and keep the most amount of money on the client side of the table.
Well, I think you've highlighted some strategies that we need to be working on. And so if someone doesn't know where to start, how can they maybe receive help from you?
Absolutely. You can find us on the web at Evans Financial. evansfinancial.com or kick us an email to info@evansfinancial.com. But in any sense, I highly encourage, if it's not us, please talk to an advisor. That way you can kind of get another set of eyes, but somebody else that can really throw a third-party point of view that's really going to be unbiased. Because I think sometimes we can sell ourselves on, it's like, here's the great way, here's the way I'm going to do this, without maybe possibly thinking of something else that could be damaging or something we don't think about. So that can really be a gigantic help when it goes into this retirement time.
Well, as always, great tips. Thanks, Colin. We'll go to Caroline now.